Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and today is Wednesday, August 9th. So we will get to today's recap in just a second. Before we do that, risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Please also, if you are enjoying these videos or if they're helpful, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And of course, you could find more information about being a member of Tribeca Trade Group at tribecatradegroup.com. And yes, yesterday's video, the recap was basically that, we started to see something that we've been seeing for more than yesterday. But in yesterday's dip, it was energy stocks that were bought today, and I illustrated that with the percentage move from the open yesterday. Those were the groups of stocks that were getting bought, more of your energy and some of your material stocks as well. So today, the themes that I've got written here are because I've been getting a lot of questions about this, and everybody wants to know. So far we're seeing this very much anticipated pullback or weakness that we usually see in August. Of course, that happening right at the beginning of the month. So that's it's always a little bit different, right? Just because things are anticipated, right? No one has a crystal ball, but there's been signs. What everybody seems to be interested in now is, now that we're dipping, is this dip a buying opportunity, right? And of course, that leads into, well, when do you think, this market will kind of turn around? Well, I always start with, what do we know right now and where are we? Because again, going back to something I just said, is that no one has a crystal ball and knows for certain. And I think the more that you've been around markets, right, you tend to kind of, if you've been a trader and so forth, you get to the understanding that no one knows for certain. But people get fooled all the time by, folks that are on financial media, and, they've got a lot of, they can make it sound, they sound confident in what they're saying, and they will come up with a view that could make sense, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, coming up with and saying like, hey, I think this is going to happen and these are the reasons. But at the end of the day, you don't know, and no one knows, right? But we like to have a plan, and we really will take clues from what we're seeing, not only in the price action, but some of the indicators too that are under the hood, right? So let's start with the price action first. So what do we know right now? Looking at the daily chart. Well, the daily chart for the S&P, we are holding the bottom of value. And, I view this as you could view this as both positive and negative, this view. Number one, I'll give you the positive and then I'll give you the negative, right? Number one is we're trying to, basically price is trying to hold in here. It's trying to hold the bottom of the value. It's gone from the top of value to the bottom of value. Also, if you note that the 50-day moving average is here. But for now, this level that I've been quoting, and I put this in my Substack every day, is 44.8875. That's the support that we're holding, which again is significant, right? Our volume at price indicator, the TTG market webs is giving you a sense that right now price is holding, right? Barring any new information. Now we do get the CPI report out tomorrow, right? And there could be a number of other things that are in play, in terms of news that could hit the tape. So if that breaks 44.88, right, then we begin to kind of put our eyes further south, and I would say the 50-day moving average, and then I would also say that this virgin point of control is going to be important. Could we go down there? We could, but I'm not going to make that prediction unless we break this level. Is this a great area to start buying? In my opinion, no. Because so I mentioned, like, here's the good. The bad is that we're below all these moving averages, right? And why I have these short-term moving averages on my chart, right, is to help me. And it's to help me see that right now we've lost that short-term momentum. And if we get back above the 5 or the 20-day moving average, then we know that buyers are coming back in, right? And the buyers are being more aggressive than the sellers on the tape. So that's really what I'm watching here on this daily chart. But again, this is just reading, just understanding like how to read a chart and how to make some decisions based on that. And I'll give you a couple examples in a second. But here's also the 1 hour chart. Right. Another thing that I would note here is that what we're seeing here, right, there's a pattern that's in place right now, right? Well, the pattern is there's a series of lower highs being right now. So is that strong or is that weak, right? I'll let you guys think about that for a second, right? Here was the high back a couple weeks ago, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, right? So in my opinion, it's not strong, it's weak, right? Until you break out of this pattern, and eventually we could break out of this pattern. I can't tell you when, but I would be watching for when it does, right? And that's all from a trading standpoint, right? That's what you're basically looking for is confirmation, right? Everybody always wants to try to beat the price to the punch and try to get ahead of everybody. It's not about that, right? It's waiting and being patient for when it does materialize. So that's the lower highs. We did make a little bit of a lower low for the day. For now, we're holding it. But this is kind of it's holding by a thread right now. So that's what I see. Also notice that differently than yesterday is that we've now closed below the value area for the week. Is that a period of is that symbolic of strength or weakness? It's not strength, it's weak. Okay. So there's a couple things. Now, again, I'm not making any predictions here. I'm just telling you exactly what the charts are telling us. What about the cues? Let's go through each one of these, right? What are the cues telling us? Well, the cues are telling us that this is in the short term over here, right in this area. It's a little bit weaker than the S&P, right? Why is it weaker? Because number one, it's broken below the value area for the month of September. Number two, we're already down to the 50-day moving average, right? And it's testing that. Now, the next level down is this virgin point of control. What level is that? 363.95. Could we see a bounce from there? It's possible, right? Because that's where a lot of buyers and sellers have previously met up. So it's going to be a high volume area. So that's going to be, an area to watch, right? Do I want to go ahead and start buying that, if price does get down there? No, absolutely not. I want to wait to see what happens there and wait for a little bit of confirmation that in fact, buyers are coming in there. All right. So that's how we kind of look for confirmation. Also, I'll do this drill here on the 1 hour, and it's the same type of same type of pattern, right? Here was the highs, lower highs in here, another lower high, another lower high, another lower high, lower high. Again, is that strength? Is that exhibiting strength or weakness? It's exhibiting weakness, right? In the short term, we're going down, right? So you just have to wait for confirmation, right? What I would like to see is first price get back into the value area. That's 371.58, right? And then a little bit further, right? Here's IWM, right? It's kind of the same thing. This price got rejected right here at the 1 hour bottom of value, all right? So that was a perfect rejection. This is still inside the value area, so there's going to be some support at 189.81, right? Another factor that I mentioned, so we've gone through the price action of the indices, right? And the indices are making lower lows for a week. What about when we look under the hood? When we look under the hood and so I'm going to go over, so the indices lower highs, and then the first point that I have in here, notice I went to the price action first because in my opinion, that's the most important, but looking under the hood, the NYSI and the NASI, and that gives us a sense of what's going on under the hood. Are there more advancers versus decliners, right? We're in an environment where right now there's more decliners versus advancers. So we're looking at breadth, right? And we have a breadth indicator that we look at every day, which is on the bottom left of your screen, right? Which looks at up volume versus down volume, right? That down volume has been greater than up volume for about the last week or so. So that's been pretty, that has not changed. So this gives us a nice measurement of what basically is going on under the hood. This has not been adjusted for today. I think this comes out after 5 o'clock, but it's going to tell you the same picture, right? You could see since this turned red is that this is a change in trend with the 10-day moving average, right? So it's telling you that this is a harder environment. The analogy that I always use for this is whether the wind is at your back as a stock picker, or if the wind is in your face as a stock picker. Here, right now, since this has started to go down, and especially with the 10-day moving average crossover to the downside, the wind is in your face. For example, right, I'll give you some particulars, but this is the way I think about it. If you were to randomly pick stocks, picking 10 stocks out of a hat, right? If there was strong breath, right, in the marketplace, you might have 7 names that are going up versus 3 names that are going down. When you have poor breath, it's the opposite. There's about 7 names that are going down and 3 names going up. So on average, if no edge, just picking randomly, you're going to lose money, right, when breath is going down. So that's the environment that we're in right now. All right, so let's go back to my spreadsheet. We'll dig into a little bit more, but and then I also mentioned price below those short-term moving averages, right? The 5 and the 20. Again, all of this is giving you a sense of what is currently happening right now, right? And again, our goal as a trader, and my goal particularly, is not to make predictions. It's just to wait and be patient for a better environment. All right. So what did outperform today? It's kind of interesting. Solar stocks, that's a very beaten up area. Again, I always see people get very excited, it seems like, when the solar stocks go up. I don't really get it because they're not acting very well. So that's great. You got a little bit of a bounce. I hope you sold into the bounce, because this is the worst area, or one of the worst areas of the market. I'm not saying that it can't rebound further, but the trend should tell you something. The trend should tell you that all of these things are showing relative weakness. Okay, sure, could bounce, certainly. If I were to have to play one name versus the other, I would try to play maybe for solar, but that didn't even break out of the value. It couldn't close out of the value area. So again, that's telling you something too, right? It's just telling you that that the price is that weak. 204.82 is the level to watch there, right? But that was your best performing group. I'm going to cover a couple names really quickly that I thought were interesting. Number one, I'll talk about the name that everybody seems concerned with, which is NVDA. This pattern, see what I did here, right? I drew this on the second peak here, a lower high, right? We're seeing this all over the place, right? If you go through especially with your growth charts, right, you're going to see a lot of times, we made a high somewhere in July, and then on the second attempt, it could not make that. It did not break through that. That's not a good thing. And you could see that it's now become like a slippery slope, right? In terms of the third time it tried to, make a bounce here, it didn't even get anywhere near that, right? Again, that's weakness. Sometimes you'll also see a double top, right? But this is not even as strong as a double top. So where are we now with NVIDIA, right? Well, we closed close to the low of the day. We did take out one of these virgin point of controls. So this is a area of interest, right? It doesn't mean that we stop falling there, but it could be an area where buyers step in, right? So that's an area to watch really closely. So also we took out one of these here, and we have another one down here, right? Another one that everybody is watching is this SMCI, right? Nobody was watching this, months and months ago, but now it's the popular stock, right? We don't have any confirmation yet. This thing may not be done going down. It did go through this 280 virgin point of control. There's another one down here at 250, right? My opinion is let this thing cool off a little bit, right? It broke the 50-day moving average, right? Let some of the weak hands, get out of the stock, or, let the hot money come out of this name and see where it goes. It could be a buying opportunity, but I don't think it's a buying opportunity yet. Be patient, right? Which kind of brings us to, Helene Meisler, who's a wonderful follow on Twitter, and she puts out some great analysis. She was saying a couple of weeks ago, no one wanted to get into energy stocks, right? You mentioned energy stocks a month ago. Everybody's like, I don't want to look at an energy stock. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's talking about energy stocks, right? And it's just kind of funny. So the way that works. So yes, I mentioned yesterday about nat gas and that it had an opportunity, using our system, that the price action got very tight. It's been one of the thinnest value areas that I've seen in a long time in nat gas. And sure enough, that worked pretty well. So yes, I've been positioned in some energy stocks, right? I've had an overweight position, both in my trading account and TTG trend portfolio. Started to do that a few weeks ago, and have been kind of adding to that exposure as we go along, right? And someone asked on Twitter too, and I didn't answer their question. They're like, hey, I felt like I missed it. Go through some of these charts and figure out which ones still look good, right? And there are some, I actually added a position today in CNQ. Right, this is Canadian Resources. They have exposure to both crude and nat gas, right? So I'm taking profits in other names. Like I started to amass a decent position in XLE, right? I took a profit target today in this right at the virgin point of control to the upside, right? That was one of my targets. We'll see if it can get through that. I'll be a little bit patient because I would imagine it may consolidate here a little bit, but I'm taking profits in some of these things. Valero was a name that I put on the other day too, which I mentioned in yesterday's video, right? This made a nice move, right? So, as I take profits in some names, I look for opportunities in some new names. So CNQ, right? So let me go back to this weekly chart, right? It is right at the top of value. This is, again, we don't know how this candle is going to close because we're at a Wednesday right now. And so we're not at the end of the week, but what I would be looking for is a close above 61.35. I like the trend here. I like the consolidation, and I'm looking for a break out of this year's value area. So I think that's an interesting one. A few other names to kind of keep a little bit out of the energy sector, but also in the material group is this name was brought to my attention by a TTG member today. This is Tractor Supply, right? This is, just got back above the 200-day moving average. So I think this is a good opportunity provided it holds to 21.37. HPE is a name that I added today, right? This had a nice breakout yesterday. So you got a dip down to 2%, and it's just an inside day today. So I'll give this, I gave this a shot. So I'm taking some small calculated shots in some things, and I'm realizing, when things break support, to kind of, get out of the way. Right, CARR is a name just put on the watch list today. This is a strong name, strong earnings names, and that's kind of where I like to live. Right now, when we're seeing pullbacks, I want to go into the strongest names, right, and buying dips in some of these names that have come in a little bit after earnings. Right, so this is into the 20-day moving average. Again, I'm not in a rush. I don't need to add a ton of exposure right now, because what I went through earlier in this video is telling me to be more defensive, right? KTOS is another name I'm interested in. Nice breakout on nice volume on earnings, and that's a bearish engulfing for today. I think it looks like it. So again, no rush here. Let it maybe consolidate a little bit. But this is what I try to do when we're going through these types of periods: is develop a watch list. Really pay attention to what you're seeing on the tape. So this way, when the tape does get better, whenever that does happen, right, I have a healthy watch list of names that I can get involved as things begin to improve. All right, I mentioned that I would talk about one name that didn't work. Right, this is Meta. I went over this earlier in the week, right? And I said, as long as it's holding this 312 level, and I think even further down was 310, so if it holds in here at 310, I'm going to stay with it. As soon as it breaks, I'm out of it, right? And that's the situation. And I dumped this, had my alert set, and I dumped it today at like just under 310 today. But that's going back to the analysis that I did earlier, right? So if we break something, you get out of it, you get out of the way, right? And having that plan ahead of every trade, right? Being organized, right? And being objective, right? Understanding that you can't control these prices, come back to when these things look better. Right. And that's it. That's, you know, that's how you survive as a trader. So that's a little bit of the context about some of the things that we go over in the trading room. Feel free to check out TribecaTradeGroup.com if you want to see what we do on a day-to-day basis, how we compile our watch list, what I tend to look for on the tape, and what I look for further, you know, when I start to get involved in trades. All right, guys, that's it for today. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.